Welcome back, decoders, to the channel. This is Decoding with Cody, and in this video I'm going to go over this bizarre connection between this recent 2023 Ohio train derailment and the movie, or in the book in the movie called White Noise. Okay. And just so you guys can, let me pull this up here real fast. The movie White Noise was released on August 31st, 2022, okay? And in the movie is filmed in near East Palestine, Ohio. And in the movie, there's a train derailment that leaks toxic chemicals into the air called the Airborne Toxic Event, okay? This comes out August 31st, 2022, and not too long after, the real life incident happens in the same town that they shot some of these scenes for this movie, East Palestine, Ohio. Okay, right here, East Palestine, Ohio. And so, guys, I mean, these kind of things happen all the time, right? You have this movie coming out last year with the same exact scenario, happening, and you have this train derailment in real life leaking these chemicals just like in the movie, okay? It's absolutely absurd that people can't see that this is all perfectly predictive programming for real life events. And what's bizarre is if you actually go and watch the movie, okay, now this book was originally released in 1985, but the movie was made last year, and it came out August 31st, okay? But in the movie, there's something very bizarre, okay? These two characters right here, this guy played by Don Cheadle, this guy played by Adam Driver. This guy's name is Jack Gladney in the movie, and he is obsessed with Hitler, to the fact that in the synopsis for it, he says that White Noise follows a year in the life of Jack Gladney, professor at College on the Hill, who's made his name by pioneering Hitler studies. Okay? Hitler studies. It's this guy, okay? But his colleague, played by Don Cheadle, is obsessed with Elvis. As you guys can see here, I screenshotted. He's asking him right here to establish an Elvis Presley power base. Okay? So these guys are obsessed with Elvis and Hitler. All right? And I'm going to show you why I believe all this is super, super coded in with this movie, in this book, and this real life incident that followed. Okay? So fast forward a little bit, and you see this truck about ready to crash, and this guy's listening to Elvis Presley, this truck driver, okay? And this is foreshadowing the event where this truck is going to crash into this train, which is going to leak all these chemicals, okay? And after this, they cut to a scene where these two men are giving a lecture to all these students. And the scene starts out with them talking about Elvis. This guy's talking about Elvis and his mother, Gladys Presley, and how Elvis and his mother had a very close bond. And then this guy, played by Adam Driver, he comes in and he begins talking about how Hitler had a close bond with his mother. So this is like a back and forth of Hitler and Elvis and their mothers, okay? And eventually it gets to the point where he's talking about the word death. And basically, he's talking about Elvis here, but then it comes back in with this Adam Driver character talking about Elvis and his obsession with Elvis, or with Hitler. And just as he's talking about this, the same time that he's doing this, the train or the truck is going to crash into this train. So at the very same moment that this guy is giving his lecture on Hitler and Elvis, while this truck driver is listening to Elvis, this train and truck crash. And this is what causes the airborne toxic event in the movie. And then you have this real life incident, which is pretty much the same exact incident where a train crashes and leaks these toxic chemicals. So, but why the obsession with Elvis and Hitler? Okay. And it's funny because I've done a lot of research on these two characters, and I just wanted to show you how this is all tied together. All right. So again, guys, I wish I could play these clips, but if you guys want to go watch this clip part of the movie, this is like the most interesting part of the whole movie, when he's giving his lecture and he says the word death. And what's funny about this is in the movie, guys, Jack Gladney, who's also obsessed with Hitler, is also afraid of death. In fact, the whole movie is about understanding the fear of death. And what's funny is that in Gematria, death and Adolf, which is Hitler's first name, are a direct match, 38, 20, 97, and 25. So this professor in this movie represents, he's obsessed with Hitler, whose first name is Adolf, which is a direct match to death, and he's afraid of death. So he's obsessed with the thing that he's afraid of. Do you see the contradiction here? Because in Gematria, it tells us the story, because death and Hitler are direct matches. Now, notice that he was a professor of Hitler studies. Notice that Hitler studies is 169, 61, and 83, just like the city this happened in, East Palestine, Ohio. What are the chances of that? East Palestine, Ohio, abbreviated, is a direct match to Hitler studies. Okay? And now, going to this Elvis Presley connection for a minute. So the movie came out on August 31st, 2022, and the real-life incident happened on February 3rd, 2023. That's 157 days. Okay? And in Gematria, Elvis Presley equals 157. And it's 157 days from the movie about Elvis and Hitler to the actual crash. Elvis equals 157. The movie comes out on the 243rd day of the year. Elvis Aaron Presley equals 243. And 81. Notice the date numerology of the day the movie came out was 81, and it was the 243rd day of the year, just like Elvis Presley equals 81 and 243. The real-life incident happens near Pittsburgh, in between Cleveland and Pittsburgh on the Pennsylvania-Ohio border. Pittsburgh has a team called the Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers equals 81, 243, just like Elvis Aaron Presley. Also notice that East Palestine is almost a direct match to Elvis studies. I showed you down here that Hitler studies is a direct match to East Palestine, Ohio, abbreviated, and Elvis studies, which is what Don Cheadle does in the movie, is a direct match to East Palestine, 146, 47, 79. Okay? Now, this book came out in 1985. The same year, this other book comes out in 1985, and this book is called The Occult Roots of Nazism. And it mentions the years 1890 to 1935. What's interesting about these 2 years is this was the year after Elvis died, 1890, and this was the year Elvis was born. So this book about Nazi occultism comes out and has the dates 1 year after Hitler was born, and the same year Elvis was born. Okay? And it comes out 1985, the same year the book White Noise comes out, which depicts this event with Hitler and Elvis, and also predictive programming for this actual event that happened this year. Okay? And this is all tied to the Illuminati, guys, because the Illuminati was founded by Adam Weishaupt in 1776, the same year the United States was founded. And another thing about Elvis Presley is Elvis Presley has a 2-cipher match to the United States. Okay, 167 and 157. United States equals 167, 157. Now, the Illuminati was founded the same year on 5/1, just like the founder Adam Weishaupt equals 51. It was founded on May 1st, 1776, not long before the United States was established independence. And the Illuminati was founded by Adam Weishaupt. The Illuminati is a direct match to the writer of this book, Don DeLillo, with the 48. This 48 is important, guys, because notice the actual story of this train crash. It says that the town of East Palestine has 4,800 residents, kind of like the writer of this book equals 48 and the Illuminati equals 48. Also, there was another 48 here. It said that 48 hours later is when they revealed the cause of the derailment. So you have the 48 hours later and you have the 4,800 residents connecting you right back to the Illuminati and the writer of the book, White Noise, Don DeLillo. And just notice that Don DeLillo has the 51, just like Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Illuminati, 51. And this is all tied to the Super Bowl because the actual accident that happened here happens on the border of Pennsylvania. And it was the Philadelphia Eagles who were in the Super Bowl from Pennsylvania. And they equal 105, like the Order of Illuminati, like Airborne Toxic Event, which is the event that happens in this book, equals 105, just like the Order of Illuminati and Philadelphia Eagles, who lost in the Super Bowl. Now, let me show you how this, I just want to mention too, guys, that even the actor who plays this main character equals 67, like Elvis Presley. And it's just so coded all together. But let me show you why this whole Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh thing is important. Because remember, guys, this happened in between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. I've already told you how it happened on the 243rd day of the year, which matches the Pittsburgh Steelers football team and Elvis Aaron Presley. Okay, but what about the 50? Because in the real life story, there's 50 cars that derailed. And 50 is going right back to Nazi. Nazi equals 50. There's 50 cars that derail. Pittsburgh, it happens not far from Pittsburgh, equals 50. Kind of like Nazi party equals 130 and 50, like Pittsburgh equals 130 and 50. The Chiefs won the Super Bowl against the Pennsylvania team equals 50. There's 50 states, all right? This is a huge number. And just notice, the Steelers, the Pittsburgh team, 103, 113, and 50, kind of like Auschwitz, which was the camp, and Nazi party. So again, all tied together, guys. This is why it happened in between Pittsburgh and Cleveland, right on the Pennsylvania border, tied to the Super Bowl, tied to this occult. Even in the movie, guys, his wife, Jack Gladney's wife, Babette Gladney, okay? Her name is Babette Gladney, and she is also afraid of death, just like he is. So this couple in the movie, Jack Gladney and Babette Gladney, are both afraid. Here's her name, Babette. Are both afraid of death, and she begins taking these pills, an experimental treatment for the terror of death. Okay. The novel becomes a meditation on modern society's fear of death and obsession with chemical cures. Okay? And it's just crazy because in the movie also, his wife is obsessed with occult. It even shows a book of hers called Occult in one part of this movie. I can't play the clip, guys, but again, so he's obsessed with Hitler and Nazi, and she's obsessed with occult. And again, this book was written the same year The Occult Roots of Nazism came out in 1985. White Noise came out in 1985. And just one more thing here. It's so interesting that the guy who wrote this book is named Donald DeLillo, and the main character that's obsessed with Elvis, played by Don Cheadle, is named Donald as well. So you got this Donald Trump connection here. As a matter of fact, Don Cheadle's full name is a direct match to Donald Trump. And so there's some really interesting ties here with Donald Trump that I'm not going to be able to get into in this video. But I just wanted to point out one last thing, that the governor of Ohio, after this incident, he said this is a matter of life and death. And remember, I showed you guys that Adolf is a direct match to death. Okay? And the main character in the movie is obsessed with Adolf, and he's afraid of death. You see the contradiction? He's obsessed with Adolf, which is a direct match to death, but he's afraid of death. So he's obsessed with the very thing that he's afraid of. It's paradoxical. And what I also want to point out here is that Elvis, so you have this back and forth between between life and death, okay? And in the movie, as this train is crashing in the movie, you have these two characters talking about life, Elvis, because Elvis is an anagram of lives or lives, like life. And Adolf is a direct match to death. So, and then it's not a coincidence that the Ohio governor, after the incident in real life, comes out and says this is a matter of life and death. Talking about Hitler, because Adolf equals death, and life is Elvis, because Elvis is an anagram of lives or life. So life and death, again, this is what this movie was really about. And I just think it's just crazy how they put all this together, how they use these two characters, Adolf Hitler and Elvis Presley. So anyways, guys, I hope that it was easy to understand and it was clear to you how this is scripted together. And I hope that you guys will share this video. And thanks you guys again for watching. I appreciate all of you. And I will see you in the next video.